and trying to remake Cramer Hill, break down the connection to the most stable institution in Cramer Hill, which is Harry C. Sharp Family School, and then force people to go to all over the city. What you do is you separate people from their institution that they know. And now their ties to the community aren't as strong and don't run as deep. And it makes people much more apt to leave, which is what folks want. So, so the battle to save our schools is really in large measure trying to maintain and protect Camden for the residents who are here. So it goes a lot bigger than just educators and students. That's certainly part of it, but it runs way, way deeper. And that's why city politics are trying to, force, a superintendent to close 4 schools.
So we're in downtown Camden, New Jersey, and right behind me is City Hall. There's been a topic floating around in the air that 4 schools in Camden are being closed. I heard about this letter that was signed by the mayor and maybe a couple committees or a couple people in some committees in Camden's government that initiated this, I guess, this year. And the reason why I'm saying I guess is because I don't really know all of the information. How I came across this was I was in a Facebook group called Camden Roundtable, and I came across Keith Eric's, I guess you would call, rant.
My name is Dr. Keith Benson. I'm the president of the Camden Education Association. I'm a Camden resident. I was a teacher here in Camden High Schools for 14 years, and I'm a union president and have been for the past 4. Hopefully I get reelected.
He expressed himself about how he felt about these schools being closed and people losing jobs and things like that. And I was very honest with him. I don't really have a connection to these Camden schools because I never went to school in Camden, but I grew up in Camden. For me, it's an opportunity to give some people a voice that don't have a voice. I'm not really on either side of keep the schools or not keep the schools. Kind of grew up with no school spirit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let Eric take us to the first school.
So the school behind me is Harry C. Sharp Family School on the corner of 32nd and Hayes in the Cramer Hill section of Camden. If you're familiar with this area, this is the only public school in the area for quite a few blocks. The superintendent trying to close Harry C. Sharp is that if you close this school, which has been here since the 1920s and it's very stable for this community in Cramer Hill, you're pretty much leaving parents with the choice of either walking all the way over hill, a mile or so to Davis, or all the way down the street to Vets, or which we think the superintendent is trying to do is force people into Camden's charter schools. Nothing about the school in terms of the building condition has been identified as the reason why Sharp should close. Nothing specific at all. And if you walk through the schools, you walk through a building, you actually see how beautiful a facility it is. Case in point, every single classroom in there has a smart board. And every single classroom has technology. We keep hearing, we keep having these ideas about what urban public school classrooms look like, when the reality is anything you could want your child to have inside their classroom, you look in these classrooms inside at Harry C. Sharp School and they're there. And that's not including the educators that are committed to educating our kids. And again, the fact that our kids have been learning here, again, since the 1920s, that's very, very special, and that's something that you don't throw away. Where the pre-K classrooms are, it's a newer annex. It was built in 1989, so that stuff is new and modern. And most of the classrooms have window air conditioning units, so people tend to stay cool in the summertime when it's really hot. So a lot of excuses have been given to justify why a school like Harry C. Sharp would have to close, but it doesn't really bear out in terms of the facilities or the condition of the building.
Hi, my name is Vida Neal, and I'm an activist here in Camden, New Jersey. I'm a part of a lot of groups that are active in Camden and nationwide. I'm a part of the Camden County chapter of the NAACP, Save Camden Public Schools, NJCU, New Jersey Community United, South Jersey Progressive Women for Change. And I just want to see a better day for my community and make sure that children are educated properly. Education is the key to success. So each child is worth a lot of money. So you figure that a child without special needs, I think they're worth like about $29,000. And a child that needs special needs could be worth up to about $70,000 to educate. And the average charter school spends about $6,800 a year to educate our children. So you take a city like Camden, where we have a lot of children that have IEPs and which are independent learning plans, because of things that they went through, the trauma here with the shootings and gunshots, the drugs and things of that nature. They realize that they can capitalize and make money off of our children. So you had a bunch of legislators, which is the 5th legislative district that's responsible for South Jersey, put together something called the Urban Hope Act. And the Urban Hope Act took 4 black communities in New Jersey, and the state took them over because of the QSAC test. They say our children scored, the QSAC test really judges how a school district does. So what they did was they took over these 4 black school districts in New Jersey, and Camden is the only one that has Renaissance School because they passed that Urban Hope Act and the legislation. The other 3 school districts wouldn't even entertain that, but they decided they were going to use Camden as a pilot program and put these Renaissance schools in our community. And the Renaissance schools are KIPP, Mastery, and Uncommon. And they're all over the country, and they're failing all over the country. The Urban Hope Act, as far as bringing the Renaissance here, it only applies to the city of Camden in the whole state of New Jersey. And one would say that would be discrimination or racism.
We're on the corner of 29th and Mickle. So the school behind me is Alfred Cramer School. Bilingual students from all over the city, bilingual special needs students from all over the city. A lot of them come to this school that's right behind me. It's this building has been here since 1923 and has been a part of this community for close to 100 years. If this school is collapsed, which the plan is that there will be no public school from K to 5 or K to 8 in this section of East Camden. One of the reasons why they said they wanted to close Cramer is because they said the school is old. As I said it before, the school was built in 1923. But after taking a look at the schools, the SDA, the School Development Authority from the state of New Jersey in 2018 just invested $4 million into improving the facade and the conditions of Cramer. So if you look around, when you guys see the school all throughout has brand new windows, brand new doors, brand new brick pointing. Look at this. This is a beautiful building. Politics. Mastery has taken over 2 schools within this 5-block radius. So in their mind, let's just complete the job and give this school away. And the inside is even more pretty than what it is on the outside. It's a very beautiful building, which is the reason why I'm saying that this school is being closed, because the building conditions doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The school is really, really important for a lot of people, and again, for maintaining this neighborhood.
So I figured that I would give you my mid recap and my final thoughts all at once, so I could let Eric get his final thoughts out, because honestly, some of the things that he said when he took me on these tours of these schools, they opened up my eyes to some things. But also the interviews that I did with Vida and Theo opened up my eyes to some things. But I do understand people having a connection to something that makes them feel part of something. I didn't have that. So because I didn't go to these schools in my neighborhood, I may be missing a part of camaraderie from Camden that a lot of people inside of the city do have, because these schools have been around for over 100 years. Well, yeah, I gotta do the math, but somewhere around 100 years they've been open. So that means that generations over generations have went to these schools, so people do have long-lasting connections. People do build connections to things, places, and people, and it does hurt when they're broken. And also, progression, growth, all those things take a process inside of a community. And sometimes they come with hard changes.
Hi, I'm Theo Spencer. I'm a lifelong Camden City resident. I'm also a former candidate for mayor of the city of Camden. I served on the school board for 3 years. So when it comes to Camden and politics, I'm pretty plugged into what's going on across the city and across the state. Professionally, I am a software developer for one of the largest banks in the country, and that's pretty much what I do. When I was on the school board, closing schools was something that came up almost every year. I don't recall if we had to close. I don't believe we closed down any schools, but every year the state of New Jersey is trying to tighten its financial belt. Schools in Camden cost a lot of money to keep going on. They keep adding schools to Camden, and they don't really take any schools away from Camden. And at a certain point, that gets to be quite expensive. Unfortunately, Camden is a city that historically doesn't generate enough money to pay its own bills. Things like the school system are not really supported by all the residents. So, I don't know what the statistics are on it, but I think probably 5 or 6% of the school district's budget comes from, property taxes, which is very, very low. Most of the money that funds our school system comes from the federal government or the state. And, a lion's share of it, probably 70% of it comes from the state. So, there's always some contention about, what the state is going to pay for, and that's pretty much an ongoing theme in Camden, and that's one of the things that has come up recently. And you've had situations where the superintendent has sort of been. People have gone after the superintendent, called her a sellout and a bunch of other things. I'm not somebody that's for or against the superintendent or for or against closing schools. I try to stay an objective person, and because I understand all of what's going on. I understand the emotional attachment that people have to a neighborhood school. I also understand the financial responsibility of the state in terms of how much these schools cost to maintain and to keep open. One of the schools that's slated to close, Yorkshire School, there's no other school in that neighborhood really. So Yorkshire is pretty much the only school, and if that closes, then you won't really have a quote-unquote neighborhood school to send kids to. And so you run into this thing where, kids can't walk to school. Well, in 2021, a lot of kids don't walk to school anymore. A lot of people's parents take them to school. I see parents drive all over the city of Camden to make sure their kid get on a certain school bus. So, none of these things are convenient, but, people are doing them, so. But yeah, schools is always going to be a hot button issue.
So right behind me is Yorkshire Family School. It goes from pre-K all the way up to 8th grade, and it encompasses this side, the east-west side of Fairview. And for the most part, this is the only school in the neighborhood that encompasses those grades. And the district, superintendent, city politicians want to see this building closed, which again is the only learning institution in this part of the city, and try to force people from K through 8 to walk over a mile to go to either HB Wilson or Creative Arts. The reality is, again, this school has to say very similar stories. School has to say for part of this community. It's around, it was made back in the 1920s, just like the other schools, just other buildings. That's a common theme. They're trying to target the buildings that they say are old. But again, this building is safe. It educates 454 students today. And it's important to this community, and the school got to stay.
when they do this?
I'm gonna say maybe like 93 or 89, one of the two. Obviously, you can see like the difference between like the front and everything what we see right there. So as you can see, we looked at the front of the building, or the old front of the building, but this is clearly the new front. And you see the condition of the building is beautiful. You know, imagine this on a really sunny, in the morning time when the sun is on this side of the school. On the other side, you get so much light in that stairwell. It's really a beautiful thing for you to see. Only the kids really get a chance to really experience it, because a lot of folks don't really come inside the buildings that are labeling these buildings, aren't actually in here to actually see how beautiful it is on the inside. But this is where most of the libraries over here, the cafeterias over here, and where a lot of the pre-K classes are over here too, and it is really, really nice. So just like the other schools, they were saying that the narrative around this building is that this building is in so bad a condition, quote unquote, deplorable, that the school has to close for the safety of students. The reality is our school buildings are up to code because they have to be, and they're being inspected by the city and by the fire department. All these buildings are up to code and safe for our students to go into. Just like all the other schools that you guys have seen through the course of these tours, all these buildings have, all these classrooms have smart boards. All these classrooms have technology. They have a beautiful library. They have a beautiful annex in the back of the building, which is newer. So this front part was built in the 1920s. That part in the back was built in the 1980s or the 1990s. And there's a lot of good stuff going on inside of Yorkshire that we never hear about by design.
What technically is a school now, right? Because if I can give you a laptop or an iPad and you have access to this education 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there are a lot of parents that for a lot of reasons are not going to go back to a traditional public school.
The school right behind me, this is U.S. Wiggins. It was built in 1967. It's the newest out of the four that was slated for closure. Inside that building is beautiful. Smart boards in every classroom, technology up the wazoo. We got and the parents here in this community, just like in all neighborhoods, are really invested in seeing this school survive. They just had a vigil on Sunday, a silent vigil, where they came out with the candles and prayed over this building. Close this building, those kids are going to leave the public school district altogether. And again, this is another separation between the community and the institution that's been here for so long. The neighbors care, this community cares, and we need to care enough to do whatever we can do to maintain these buildings and keep them open and operating. And again, it's all a part of getting people separated and moved out off this land and separating them from their neighborhood institutions. It's easy to break communities down that way.
The problem in Camden is residents unknowingly gave up their authority to make those decisions. And that's the real tragedy in all of this. The reality is, I mean, should Yorkshire stay open or should it stay closed? I don't know. But the fact that the community has really no voice with any power or authority to decide that is the real issue. And basically, over time, we just kept giving away our rights and not really understanding what you're giving away.
Unfortunately, our children are left with public schools that are empty. And when I say empty, the things that I had when I went to Camden High are not there today. Debate team, chess club, we had so many sports and activities. Today, it's just sports. Well, guess what? Our children want to do other things than play basketball and football. Okay? Where's the academics at? Where are the things that our children need to thrive?
The final thoughts is, Camden residents, everybody out there, your urban public schools are worth preserving no matter what people say about them. They're here in your neighborhoods, they're special, and that's the reason why they're trying to take them from us. Camden is no different. The things you're seeing happen in Camden are happening all over the place, whether it's Harlem, whether it's Philly, whether it's New Orleans, whether it's Detroit. They're trying to break up urban communities to gentrify and develop. Easiest way to do that is break down the communication and the connectivity between urban residents and the neighborhood public schools. They're doing it here. You gotta fight them. You gotta stop them, try to preserve our four schools because they're that important.